I'm in a class with an amazing landscape architect, artist called Walter Hood. And his class asked, what is the relationship between the museum and the city, you know, the people and the institute and all of these things that happen that come out of it. And the class is full of all these uncertainties, and it's a collaborative exercise because I'm from performance studies and some people are designers and some people are architects and nobody knows, but everybody made these beautiful things in the end. And I think all I wanted to maybe extract from that is that the process of actually putting something together, making, and where we situate ourselves within construction and making, I think is something that we are being asked to do in this time. So a lot of people, like, I don't know, taking it from just very small ways of reading how people are feeling, whether it's newspaper or even Facebook feeds, people like, make art, do something, this is the time, get crazy, you know, break away, do your thing. And I'm like, yes, because I find that it is in the making where you discover what actually fits, right? And it's sometimes when we're making the sort of capacity or the purpose of making is experiment, and we forget that. And so we're sometimes trapped in a making that means that something has to stay. When we build infrastructure, thinking about it as permanent, I wonder if it isn't a part of today's call to be thinking of infrastructure that can't be understood or traced, or that is legible because we trust that it's legible to the people that it's legible to, and you don't need to explain it. So this thing that we built yesterday was a syncretic shrine that converted a bus stop into a space for charging the environment or charging people who pass by with some kind of energy that was both spiritual, intellectual, aesthetic. And in this way, I'm thinking with a performance scholar called Omi L. Jones, who talks about conjuration. And conjuration is a way of bringing into being the kinds of forms or possibilities that we actually want to see. So building models for what they look like, doing this making is something that I'm wondering if we all aren't compelled to do, and to think of ourselves in this way of being not just thinkers or antagonists or people who are hopeful, but we're actually in the process of thinking, what are the tectonics of this thing? How opaque does this part need to be? What is the right positioning for it at this time? Does it need to pack itself up and say, fuck off, I gotta go, because you're, you know, does it need to be porous? And I'm being very metaphorical because precisely these ideas about what materials, which one fits, where does it swing, where does it not swing, where does it stay resistant, have been very useful to me to think through this kind of embodiment, this kind of new practice that I think we're being called to by Cedric and others to think through. If there are other forms, going back to the past to a joke form might feel uncomfortable, but coming forward to another kind of form, what can we do with a meme that disappears? What do we do with, you know, this surveillance infrastructure that proliferates? How can we occupy these things in ways that produce other forms and that leave very little trace, and that have spiritual, intellectual, aesthetic kind of energy, and they don't necessarily seek to separate those things from each other? Because I often feel that in the separation of the intellectual from the aesthetic, from the research, from the idea that we're making something, is a part of a problem and is a part of this idea of a self.